Nobody paid attention to Tyson Ward, just another black teenager delivering packages to Atlanta's elite downtown gym. But when boxing champion Cole Maddox dragged him into the ring for a moment of public mockery, something unexpected happened. One clean hit from Tyson silenced the laughing crowd. Humiliated and enraged, Cole demanded a real match. 3 rounds, cameras rolling, a chance to put the delivery boy in his place. What Cole didn't know, those quick hands weren't just lucky. Behind Tyson's quiet demeanor lay his father's legacy. Raw talent honed in abandoned gyms, and a hunger no amount of privilege could match. Tomorrow, the world would discover what happens when you mistake silence for weakness. Just before we get back to it, I'd love to know where you're watching from today, and if you're enjoying these stories, make sure you're subscribed. The sun beat down on Atlanta's concrete jungle as Tyson Ward jogged through the back alleys of his neighborhood. Sweat trickled down his forehead, stinging his eyes, but he didn't stop. At 17, his lean frame moved with natural grace as he shadowboxed between dumpsters and fire escapes, throwing combinations against invisible opponents. 1-2, slip, uppercut, he muttered, his breathing controlled despite the Georgia heat. Tyson wasn't training for any particular fight. He was training because it was in his blood. Every punch he threw was a tribute to his father, a man whose face was becoming harder to remember with each passing year. All he had left were the old VHS tapes, worn from countless viewings, and a pair of faded boxing gloves that still smelled faintly of his dad's aftershave. The distant church bell rang, and Tyson checked his watch. He was going to be late for his delivery run. Quickly grabbing his backpack, he sprinted toward the bus stop, narrowly catching the eastbound to downtown. The downtown area was a different world from Tyson's neighborhood. Glass skyscrapers reached for the clouds, and people in pressed suits walked with purpose. Among these buildings stood Apex Boxing, an elite gym where champions trained and celebrities worked out. Tyson had passed it many times, but had never stepped inside. Today was different. His delivery route included a package for someone at Apex. As he pushed through the heavy glass door, the familiar scent of sweat and leather hit him. The gym was alive with activity. The rhythmic sound of speed bags, the thud of heavy bags, and the grunts of exertion. Tyson stood in the entrance, momentarily forgetting his purpose. His eyes were drawn to the central ring where 2 men circled each other. One was clearly dominating, his movements confident and calculated. "That's Cole Maddox," someone nearby said, noticing Tyson's stare. "Undefeated in 23 fights. They say he's going all the way." Cole Maddox was in his mid-20s, with a physique sculpted by years of dedicated training. His blonde hair was closely cropped, and a cocky smile played on his lips as he toyed with his sparring partner. Every movement was a performance, each punch thrown with theatrical flair. Tyson couldn't help but admire the technical precision. Even if the showmanship seemed unnecessary, the sparring session ended with Cole landing a flashy combination that sent his partner staggering back. The small crowd around the ring applauded as Cole raised his gloves triumphantly. "That's how it's done, folks," Cole announced, his voice carrying across the gym. Another day, another victim. Tyson remembered his package and approached the front desk. "Delivery for Mike Townsend," he said, pulling the small box from his backpack. The receptionist barely looked up. "He's in the back office. Through there, first door on the left." As Tyson made his way across the gym floor, the main doors burst open again. This time, Cole Maddox made a proper entrance, having changed from his sparring gear into designer athletic wear. Behind him trailed 3 men with cameras and sound equipment, capturing his every move. "The next king of the ring has arrived," announced a man with a clipboard, who seemed to be directing the small film crew. "Cole, we'll get some shots of you working the bags, then maybe some interviews with your training team." Cole nodded, clearly comfortable in the spotlight. "Make sure you get my good side," he joked, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely kidding. "Though honestly, every side is my good side." Tyson delivered his package and was heading back toward the exit when he paused again to watch. Cole was now performing for the cameras, hitting the heavy bag with dramatic power shots while delivering sound bites between combinations. "There's nobody in my weight class who can touch me," Cole declared to the camera. "I'll take on everyone and anyone. They all fall the same way." Tyson found himself mesmerized by the spectacle. The gym itself was a dream, state-of-the-art equipment, professional trainers, and serious fighters. Everything his father had talked about but never had access to. He didn't realize he was staring until one of Cole's entourage, a stocky man with a goatee, noticed him. "Hey kid, you lost?" the man called out. "The cleaning crew comes at night." A few nearby gym members chuckled. Tyson shook his head and turned to leave. "Maybe he's looking for a handout," another suggested. "This ain't that kind of establishment." Tyson clutched the straps of his backpack tighter and kept walking. But as luck would have it, one of the small packages in his bag slipped out and fell to the floor with a soft thud. He quickly bent to retrieve it, aware of more eyes turning his way. "Look at that," someone said. The delivery boys got quick reflexes. A middle-aged man in boxing shorts laughed. "Maybe we should let him try the bag, see what he's got." The comment was clearly meant as a joke, but it caught Cole's attention. The boxer turned away from the cameras, his eyes finding Tyson. "Now that would be interesting footage," Cole said, a calculating smile spreading across his face. "Hey, camera crew, I think we just found our audience participation segment." Before Tyson could process what was happening, Cole was walking toward him, the cameras following. "What do you say, delivery boy? Want to step into the ring with a pro? Just for a friendly minute?" The gym had fallen relatively quiet, everyone's attention drawn to the unfolding scene. Tyson could feel his heart pounding in his chest. "I'm just making deliveries," he said quietly, clutching his package. "Come on, it'll be fun," Cole insisted, his arms suddenly around Tyson's shoulders, steering him toward the ring. "What's your name, kid?" "Tyson," he answered reluctantly. "Tyson," Cole repeated loudly, playing to the growing audience. "Named after the legend himself. This is perfect for the show. 1 minute in the ring with a future champion. It'll be something to tell your friends about." Phones were out now, recording the interaction. Tyson could feel sweat forming on his brow, but it wasn't from the heat. This wasn't how he had imagined his first time in a real boxing ring would be. "I don't have gloves," Tyson said, trying to find a way out. "We've got loaners," Cole replied smoothly, nodding to one of his crew who quickly fetched a pair of worn gym gloves. Tyson stood frozen as the gloves were thrust into his hands. The logical part of his brain screamed at him to walk away, but something deeper, perhaps his father's voice, whispered that he shouldn't back down. With reluctance masking his internal turmoil, Tyson climbed through the ropes. The ring felt both larger and smaller than he had imagined. Cole bounced on the balls of his feet opposite him, playing to the cameras. "Just a friendly minute," Cole repeated, though his eyes held something less than friendly. "Show us what you've got, delivery boy." Someone hit a bell, and Cole immediately moved forward, throwing 2 quick jabs that were clearly intended to intimidate rather than hurt. Acting on instinct honed in those alleyway sessions, Tyson slipped both punches, his body moving with a natural fluidity that surprised even himself. A murmur ran through the crowd. Cole's smile faltered for just a second before he recovered, throwing another combination. Again, Tyson evaded, his footwork quick and unpredictable. It wasn't formal boxing, it was street-smart movement, raw and unrefined but effective. "Kids, got some moves," someone in the crowd commented. Cole's expression tightened slightly. He jabbed again, this time with more intent. Tyson slipped the punch and, acting on pure instinct, countered with a quick right hand to Cole's exposed ribs. The sound of the impact seemed to echo through the gym. It wasn't a powerful blow, but it was clean and unexpected. Cole's eyes widened, in shock as he took a step back. The gym fell silent. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Cole's face transformed, the showman's smile replaced by something darker. With a quick movement, he shoved Tyson hard, sending him stumbling back against the ropes. "You think this is a game?" Cole snarled, all pretense gone. "You want to play with the pros, kid? Let's do this right. Tomorrow. Same ring. 3 rounds." The words hung in the air like a physical threat. Around them, people began to whisper and laugh nervously. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every moment of Cole's sudden change in demeanor. Tyson regained his balance, his face burning with humiliation. Without a word, he slipped out of the gloves, dropped them on the canvas, and exited the ring. He could feel everyone's eyes on him as he grabbed his backpack and headed for the door. "See you tomorrow, delivery boy," Cole called after him, his voice laced with mockery. "Or will you be too busy running packages?" More laughter followed Tyson as he pushed through the doors and out into the afternoon sun. His hands were trembling slightly, adrenaline and anger coursing through his veins. That on the bus ride home, Tyson sat alone in the back, replaying the incident in his mind. He hadn't asked for any of that. He'd just been doing his job. Now he was a joke, probably already trending on social media as the delivery boy who dared to step into a ring with Cole Maddox. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small pouch. Inside were his father's old gloves, cracked and worn from years of use. Tyson ran his fingers over them, feeling the places where the leather had molded to his father's hands. "Let's show him," he whispered to himself, clutching the gloves tightly against his chest. "Let's show him all." The apartment was quiet when Tyson returned home, save for the soft hum of the ancient air conditioner struggling against the Atlanta heat. He dropped his backpack by the door and headed straight for the refrigerator, grabbing a bottle of water and downing half of it in one go. "You're back early," came a voice from the hallway. Nia Ward appeared in the doorway, still dressed in her nursing school scrubs. At 23, she had been both sister and mother to Tyson since their father passed away 5 years ago. Her eyes, sharp and observant, immediately noticed the tension in her brother's shoulders. "What happened?" she asked, concern edging into her voice. Tyson shrugged, attempting nonchalance. "Nothing. Just finished deliveries early." "Tyson." Nia's tone made it clear she wasn't buying it. "What happened?" With a sigh, Tyson recounted the incident at Apex Boxing. Nia's expression darkened as he described Cole's challenge. "You're not seriously thinking of going back there tomorrow," she said when he finished. "It wasn't a question." "I don't know," Tyson admitted, though part of him had already decided. "Those showboats downtown aren't worth your time," Nia said firmly. "That Cole guy was just trying to humiliate you for his little internet show. If you go back, that's exactly what you'll be. Entertainment for people who don't care about you." Tyson nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. "I'm going to take a walk," he said, already heading for the door. "Tyson," Nia began, but he was already gone. His feet carried him automatically to the old community gym 6 blocks away. Morris Community Boxing had been closed for almost 3 years now, the building falling into disrepair like much of the neighborhood. But Tyson still had a key, a gift from the previous owner who had known his father. The interior was dim and musty, with shafts of late afternoon sunlight streaming through the broken windows. Equipment lay scattered and forgotten: torn mats, a ring with 3 ropes instead of 4, and heavy bags that leaked sand onto the floor. But to Tyson, it was sacred ground. This was where his father had trained local kids, where he'd taught Tyson his first jab at the age of 5. Tyson made his way to one of the more intact heavy bags, wrapping his hands with old tape he kept in his pocket. With each punch he threw, the day's humiliation burned a little less. Here, in the quiet of the abandoned gym, he could be himself, not the delivery boy, not the kid without a father, just Tyson Ward, a boxer with untapped potential that he lost track of time, working until his knuckles were raw and his shirt was soaked with sweat. It was only when his phone buzzed with a text from Nia that he realized how late it had gone. The notification showed more than just Nia's message. There were dozens of alerts, mentions on social media platforms he barely used. With a sense of dread, he opened one to find a video clip of himself in the ring with Cole. The caption read, "Champion puts delivery boy in his place. Faced with tears of joy, #next king of the ring, #delivery boy down." Another notification led to the same clip, but with a different caption. "Yo, did anyone else see the delivery kid tag at Cole Maddox? Eyes #unexpected." The 1-minute clip had gone viral overnight. There were memes, tweets, and edited versions circulating everywhere. Some mocked him, calling him foolish for stepping into a ring with a professional. Others, surprisingly, seemed to be on his side, impressed by his natural ability to avoid Cole's initial punches and land. One of his own .1 tweet from a boxing commentator had gained significant traction. "Whoever this delivery kid is, he's got better instincts than half the prospects I've seen this year. Raw talent." Tyson closed the apps, his mind racing. The humiliation he'd felt earlier was morphing into something else, a mixture of anxiety and a strange sense of possibility. He texted Nia that he was on his way home and started the walk back, his thoughts a jumble of confusion and determination. When he arrived home, Nia was waiting with dinner, but she wasn't alone. A friend of Tyson's from school, Marcus, was sitting at their small kitchen table, practically vibrating with excitement. "Man, you're all over the internet," Marcus exclaimed the moment Tyson walked in. "And look at this." He thrust a paper flyer into Tyson's hands. Bold letters proclaimed, "One night only. Street Kid versus Champion. Cole Maddox takes on the Delivery Kid in a special exhibition match." Tyson stared at the flyer in disbelief. "This is tomorrow," he said, pointing to the date. "They're selling tickets and everything," Marcus confirmed. "It's like an official undercard event before some bigger fight. Cole's people arranged it." Without even asking me, Tyson's voice rose in indignation. "Would you have said yes if they did?" Nia interjected, her arms crossed. Tyson didn't answer. Immediately, the truth was, despite the circumstances, a part of him wanted this, wanted a real chance in a real ring, even if it was against someone as experienced as Cole Maddox. "This is ridiculous," Nia continued. "They can't just put you in a boxing match. You're not licensed. You've never even trained properly." "Dad trained me," Tyson countered. "When you were 12, Nia shot back. "This guy is a professional boxer with a record. He could hurt you, Ty." Tyson looked down at the flyer again at the side-by-side photos of himself and Cole. His photo had been captured from the viral video, his expression a mixture of surprise and concentration. Cole's was a professional headshot, confident and polished. "I'm going," he said finally, meeting Nia's gaze. "I have to." Nia threw up her hands in exasperation. "Why?" "To prove something to a bunch of strangers on the internet." "No," Tyson replied, quietly. "To prove something to myself." The argument might have continued if not for a knock at their door. Confused, Tyson opened it to find an older black man standing in the hallway. He was in his 60s, with gray hair and the sturdy build of someone who had once been very athletic. "Tyson Ward," the man asked, his voice deep and gravelly. "Yes. My name's Reggie Thompson. I knew your father." Tyson glanced back at Nia, who looked equally surprised. They rarely received visitors, especially ones claiming connection to their dad. "Can I come in?" Reggie asked. "I saw the video. We should talk." Hesitantly, Tyson stepped aside to let him enter. Marcus, sensing the sudden shift in atmosphere, made an excuse about homework and left quickly. "So you're Malik's boy," Reggie said once they were seated in the living room. "I can see it now. You move like him." "You knew my dad?" Tyson asked, leaning forward. "Trained with him back in the day," Reggie confirmed. "Lost touch after he got married. I've been coaching in Alabama for the past 15 years. Just moved back to Atlanta last month." "And you saw the video?" Nia asked suspiciously. "Hard to miss," Reggie chuckled. "It's everywhere. That's some natural talent you've got, kid." Tyson shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "I just shadowbox sometimes. Dad showed me some basics before he passed." Reggie nodded solemnly. "Your father had great technique. Not the most powerful puncher, but smart. Strategic. I see that in you." "Cole Maddox has arranged some kind of exhibition match for tomorrow," Nia said, her tone making it clear what she thought of the idea. "Tyson thinks he's going." "Are you?" Reggie asked, his eyes fixed on Tyson. "Yes," Tyson answered without hesitation. Reggie studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Then you'll need someone in your corner." "What do you mean?" Tyson asked. "I mean I'm offering to train you," Reggie said simply. "Not that we can do much in a day, but I can at least show you how to survive in there." Nia started to protest, but Tyson cut her off. "You do that? What?" "Call it paying a debt to your father," Reggie said cryptically. "I owe him that much." Before Nia could argue further, Tyson's phone buzzed again. It was another notification, this time a video post. From Cole Maddox himself. In the video, Cole was addressing the camera from what looked like an upscale apartment. "So by now you've all seen the little incident at my gym today," he began, his tone condescending. "For those asking if I'm actually going to fight this Delivery Kid, yes, I am. Tomorrow night. 3 rounds of exhibition boxing. Consider it a public service, showing what happens when amateurs step into the ring with professionals." He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "And to the kid, if you're watching this, don't worry. I'll try not to hurt you too badly. After all, you've probably got packages to deliver the next day." The video ended with Cole laughing as he turned away from the camera. Tyson felt his face grow hot with anger and embarrassment. "He thinks this is all a joke," Tyson muttered. "Good," Reggie said unexpectedly. Let him. Both Tyson and Nia looked at him in surprise. The more he underestimates you, the better, Reggie explained. Now, if you're serious about this, we start training tonight. I know a place we can use. The old Morris gym, Tyson suggested. I still have a key. Reggie's eyes lit up with recognition. Perfect. Meet me there in an hour. Bring whatever gear you have. After Reggie left, Nia turned to Tyson, her expression a mixture of concern and resignation. You're really doing this? I have to, Nia, Tyson said softly. I can't explain it, but I have to. She sighed, then surprised him by pulling him into a tight hug. Then you better not get hurt, she whispered fiercely. Promise me. I promise, Tyson said, though they both knew it was a promise he might not be able to keep. That night, under the flickering lights of the abandoned gym, Reggie put Tyson through his paces. They didn't have proper equipment, but Reggie improvised, using sandbags for resistance training, teaching Tyson how to move efficiently, how to defend himself against a more experienced opponent. Cole's going to come at you hard and fast, Reggie explained as they worked. He's embarrassed about that viral clip. He'll want to put you down quick to save face. So what do? Tyson asked, breathing heavily from the intense drills. First, you survive, Reggie said. Move, dodge, block. Make him work for every punch. Second, you stay composed. He wants you scared. Don't give him that satisfaction. They trained until midnight, with Reggie correcting Tyson's form, teaching him the fundamentals that his father hadn't had time to pass on. By the end, Tyson was exhausted but more confident than he'd been earlier. Get some rest, Reggie advised as they left the gym. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. The next morning, Tyson woke early and found himself searching for Cole's past fights online. The more he watched, the more the doubt crept in. Cole was good, really good. Fast, powerful, and experienced. In comparison, Tyson was a complete novice who had never fought in an actual match. Nia found him sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at his phone. Having second thoughts? She asked softly. I don't know if I can do this, Tyson admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. He's so much better than me. Nia sat down across from him. Then why go through with it? Tyson struggled to articulate the feeling in his chest. Because backing out feels worse somehow. Nia studied him for a moment, then got up and retrieved a small box from her room. I was saving this for your 18th birthday, she said, placing it in front of him. But I think you need it now. Inside the box was a letter, the paper yellowed with age. Tyson recognized his father's handwriting immediately. Dad wrote this. He asked, his voice thick with emotion. Nia nodded. Before he got sick, he wrote letters for all your important birthdays. This one was for your 18th. With trembling hands, Tyson unfolded the letter and read, Tyson, by now you're a man, finding your own path in this world. Whatever that path is, remember this. Never let someone else measure your worth. The world will try to put you in boxes, tell you what you can and can't do. But the only limits that matter are the ones you accept that I've watched you grow, seen the fire in you. That fire doesn't come from me or anyone else. It's yours alone. Trust it. Follow it. And know that I'm proud of the man you're becoming. Love always, Dad. Tyson read the letter twice more, tears blurring his vision. When he finally looked up, Nia was watching him with a soft smile. So, she said, are you going to let Cole Maddox tell you what you can and can't do? Tyson carefully folded the letter and put it back in the box. No, he said, his resolve strengthening. No, I'm not. While Tyson was rediscovering his determination, Cole Maddox was treating the upcoming exhibition like a minor inconvenience. His training session that morning was more for the cameras than for actual preparation. He hit the mitts half-heartedly while his team discussed the evening's promotion. We're calling it Pro versus Joe, his agent explained. The angle is you giving this kid a taste of real boxing. Play it up for the cameras. Toy with him a bit before you put him away. Cole nodded, barely listening. In his mind, the fight was already won. Why waste energy preparing for someone who had never stepped into a real ring? Just remember, his coach warned as Cole prepared to leave for a lunch meeting. This kid's got nothing to lose. That makes him dangerous. He's hungrier than you. Cole dismissed the warning with a wave. He's a delivery boy who got lucky with one punch. Tonight, luck runs out. As evening approached, posters for the exhibition match appeared across downtown Atlanta. Social media buzzed with speculation and jokes. most at Tyson's expense. The exhibition had been added as an undercard to a regional professional fight, ensuring a decent crowd. In the locker room of the arena, Tyson sat alone, his father's gloves resting in his lap. He had insisted on using them despite Reggie's concern about their condition. He'd carefully taped his father's initials, MW for Malik Ward, inside each glove. Reggie entered, carrying a bottle of water and a towel. "Almost time," he said, handing Tyson the water. "How are you feeling?" "Nervous," Tyson admitted. "But ready." Reggie nodded approvingly. "Remember what we talked about." He may be a joke to them. He gestured toward the door, indicating the crowd beyond. "But he's real to you. Treat him with respect, but don't fear him." Tyson took a deep breath and stood. "Let's do this." As he walked toward the ring, his father's letter echoed in his mind. "Never let someone else measure your worth." Tonight, win or lose, Tyson Ward would measure his own worth. And no one, not Cole Maddox, not the crowd, not the internet, could take that away from him. The mid-sized arena hummed with anticipation. What had started as a local exhibition match had transformed into something of a spectacle. Word had spread across Atlanta, partly due to Cole's promotional machine and partly due to the viral video that continued to circulate. The stands weren't packed to capacity, but they were far more crowded than anyone would have expected for an impromptu undercard event. In one section sat Cole's usual crowd, influencers with their phones at the ready, sponsors in branded attire, and boxing enthusiasts who'd followed his career. They lounged in their seats with drinks in hand, treating the upcoming match as little more than pre-show entertainment. But scattered throughout the back rows and cheaper seats was a different crowd. Word had spread through Tyson's neighborhood. Shop owners who knew him from his delivery routes, classmates from school, and families who remembered his father had scraped together what they could for tickets. They sat quietly, their presence a silent statement of support. Backstage, Tyson paced the small locker room, his father's gloves already wrapped around his hands. He'd insisted on wearing them despite Reggie's concern about their condition. "Remember the plan," Reggie said, adjusting the old boxing hoodie Tyson had chosen to wear. "First round, you move. Just move. Get a feel for him, for the ring. Don't try to match him punch for punch." Tyson nodded, his mouth too dry to speak. Through the walls, he could hear the announcer's voice building up the crowd for the main event later that evening. "Hey," Reggie said, placing his hands on Tyson's shoulders. "Look at me. You've already won by stepping in that ring. Everything else is just details." Meanwhile, in a much larger dressing room down the hall, Cole Maddox was in the final stages of his elaborate entrance preparation. A makeup artist touched up his face while his entourage fussed over the details of his ring walk. "The lights will drop when your music hits," his manager explained. "You'll have a spotlight all the way to the ring. Make it dramatic. We're filming this for episode 3. Cole nodded, admiring his reflection in the mirror. He wore a silk robe with "Humble Me, Try," emblazoned across the back in bold letters. His team had decided to lean into the viral moment, turning what could have been an embarrassment into a marketing opportunity. "What's the kid wearing?" Cole asked casually. "No idea," his manager replied. "Probably showed up in his delivery uniform." The team laughed, but Cole's coach remained silent, his expression contemplative. "Don't underestimate him," the coach said quietly when the others moved away. "That natural movement he showed in the video, you can't teach that." Cole rolled his eyes. "It's one round of luck versus 23 professional fights. This isn't even going to be close." The arena lights dimmed, and a pulsing beat filled the space. A spotlight appeared at the entrance to the arena floor, and Cole emerged, arms raised in confident triumph before he'd even stepped into the ring. The crowd responded with a mixture of cheers and excited murmurs as he made his way down the aisle, his entourage trailing behind him with cameras capturing every step. Once in the ring, Cole played to the crowd, bouncing from one corner to another, pumping his fists and encouraging the cheers to grow louder. He shrugged off his robe to reveal physique-hugging shorts covered in sponsor logos, his body a testament to years of professional training. Then the spotlight faded, the music stopped, and there was a moment of awkward silence. The announcer cleared his throat and said simply, "And his opponent, Tyson Ward." No music played, no special lighting effects. Tyson emerged from the opposite entrance alone, wearing his father's faded navy hoodie over simple black shorts. His walk to the ring was steady and focused, his eyes never leaving the canvas ahead of him as he climbed through the ropes. A ripple of whispers spread through the crowd. Some people recognized him from the viral video and pointed, while others simply looked confused by the stark contrast between the two fighters. "Is this some kind of joke?" someone near the front row asked loudly. "He looks like he just walked." And off the street, Tyson removed his hoodie, revealing a lean but underdeveloped frame compared to Cole's sculpted muscles. His father's old gloves looked out of place against the modern equipment surrounding them. From certain sections of the crowd, chuckles began to rise. The referee called both fighters to the center of the ring. "I want a clean fight," he said, looking between them. "This is an exhibition match, 3 rounds. Let's keep it professional." Cole smirked at the word professional, his eyes dismissively scanning Tyson from head to toe. "Don't worry, ref," Cole said loudly enough for the nearby crowd to hear. "I'll try not to hurt the delivery boy too badly." Tyson remained silent, his eyes focused somewhere beyond Cole's shoulder, remembering Reggie's advice to stay composed. They touched gloves, Cole's a dismissive tap, Tyson's respectful, and returned to their corners. The bell rang, and Cole immediately bounced forward, confident and loose. Round 1 began with Cole circling, throwing casual jabs that were more performance than punches. Each time one landed, sections of the crowd cheered. He moved with the assurance of someone who had never known defeat, occasionally glancing toward his camera crew with a knowing smile. "Come on, kid," Cole taunted between jabs. "Show me that lucky punch from the gym." Tyson focused on his footwork, just as Reggie had instructed. He moved constantly, making himself a difficult target. When Cole's punches landed, they were glancing blows rather than the solid connections the champion was accustomed to scoring. "He's just fast because he's scared," a commentator at the media table laughed into his microphone. "Running doesn't win fights." The comment received laughs from nearby spectators, and soon the social media streams were filled with similar mockery. Hashtags like #RunningMan and #ScaredDelivery began trending alongside the original #DeliveryKid tag. But in the back rows, Tyson's small contingent watched with different eyes. They saw not fear, but strategy. Among them sat Nia, her hands clenched tightly together, wincing with every punch thrown in her brother's direction. As the first round progressed, Tyson kept his breathing steady despite the exertion. A memory flashed through his mind, his father demonstrating defensive moves in their small living room years ago. "Control the storm, don't become it," his father had said. "Let them throw their thunder and lightning. You be the eye of the hurricane, calm, centered, waiting." The bell rang, ending round 1. Cole returned to his corner smiling, barely winded. Tyson moved more deliberately, his face showing no emotion as he sat on the stool Reggie had placed in the corner. "Good," Reggie whispered, passing him water. "You're making him work for it." "Did you see?" "See what?" Tyson asked between sips. He expected you to go down in 30 seconds. Now he's confused. His timing's off because you're not fighting the way he thought you would. In Cole's corner, his coach was giving different advice. "Stop playing with him," the coach urged. "He's making you look sloppy. Get in, finish it, get out." Cole waved him off. "I'm just giving the crowd a show. Round 2, I'll put him down." The bell rang again, and both fighters returned to the center. This time, Cole's approach had changed. His punches came with more purpose, his smile replaced by a look of concentration. He pressed forward, cutting off the ring, trying to trap Tyson against the ropes. Tyson continued his defensive strategy, but with a subtle difference. He began watching Cole's rhythm, noticing patterns in his footwork and the way he telegraphed certain punches. It was like studying those old VHS tapes, but in real time, with his body instead of his eyes. Midway through the round, Cole threw a combination jab, cross, hook that he'd used effectively in previous fights. Tyson had seen it in the videos he'd studied that morning. This time, instead of just evading, he ducked the hook and countered with 2 quick jabs of his own. The punches weren't powerful, but they landed clean on Cole's face. The champion stepped back, momentarily surprised. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Cole's expression darkened. The exhibition match he'd arranged to humiliate an amateur was not going according to plan. With a grunt of frustration, he lunged forward, throwing a heavy right hand that Tyson narrowly avoided. "There you go," Cole snarled. Keep running, delivery boy. But something had shifted in the arena. The mockery in the crowd had lessened, replaced by genuine interest. Even some of Cole's supporters were now watching Tyson with newfound curiosity. As the round continued, Cole's frustration grew visible. His techniques became sloppier, his breathing heavier. After Tyson landed another clean counter, Cole responded with a low elbow during a clinch, deliberately pushing it into Tyson's ribs. Watch the elbows, the referee warned, separating them. Seconds later, Cole used a break to push Tyson's head down roughly. Another warning came. He's fighting dirty, someone in the crowd called out. Others began to notice too. The bell rang, ending round 2. As Tyson sat in his corner, he could feel a change. In the atmosphere, the laughs and jeers had subsided. People were leaning forward in their seats now, phones still recording, but with a different purpose. They were witnessing something unexpected. One more round, Reggie said, working on a small cut that had opened above Tyson's eye from an accidental head clash. He's getting frustrated. Frustrated fighters make mistakes. What do I do? Tyson asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Reggie's eyes held a fierce pride as he looked at his young fighter. You've already won the crowd, he said quietly. Now win the war. Across the ring, Cole was receiving a stern talk from his coach. Get it together, the coach hissed. You're making yourself look bad. He's an untrained kid, for God's sake. Cole nodded, rolling his shoulders to release tension. I got this, he assured his team, though his confidence seemed forced now. Last round. I'll finish him. The bell rang for the final round. Cole came out aggressive, pushing forward with renewed determination. But something had changed in his approach. His movements were less fluid, his technique compromised by his desire to end the fight decisively. Tyson, meanwhile, had found a rhythm. He was still defensive, still moving, but now with purpose and understanding. He began to anticipate Cole's attacks, slipping punches that minutes ago might have landed. The crowd noticed the shift. Even the commentators who had mocked Tyson earlier were changing their tone. The delivery kid is showing surprising skill here in round 3, one admitted. He's clearly got some natural talent. Cole heard the commentary, and it fueled his frustration. With a growl, he launched forward, throwing a wild haymaker meant to end the fight, and missing completely as Tyson ducked beneath it. As Cole's haymaker whistled over his head, Tyson saw his opportunity. In one fluid motion, he spun low, dodged right, and came up with a devastating uppercut that connected squarely with Cole's chin. The sound of impact echoed through the suddenly silent arena. Cole's eyes widened in shock, his legs wobbled, and for a moment, he stood frozen in place. Then, as if in slow motion, his knees buckled, and he stumbled backward, fighting to stay upright. One step back. 2. And then, with the grace of a falling tree, Cole Maddox, the undefeated champion, the next king of the ring, dropped to the canvas. The referee immediately moved between them, waving Tyson to a neutral corner. The crowd, momentarily stunned into silence, erupted into chaos. Cole's entourage rushed toward the ring while the referee began the count. 1, 2, 3. Tyson stood in the corner, his chest heaving, unable to process what had just happened. He looked past the referee to where Cole lay, trying to orient himself. 4, 5, 6. The crowd's reaction was splitting down the middle. From Cole's section came angry shouts and boos, accusations of a lucky punch. But from the back rows, from Tyson's people, came a growing chant. Deliver Y kid. Deliver Y kid. 7, 8. Cole rolled onto his hands and knees, shaking his head to clear it. His coach was screaming instructions from outside the ring, but the words weren't registering. 9. With a tremendous effort, Cole pulled himself up using the ropes, standing just as the referee reached the final count. But his eyes were unfocused, his legs unsteady. The referee looked Cole over carefully, then waved his hands. Fight's over, he declared. Technical knockout. Cole's team immediately protested, but their objections were drowned out by the roar that erupted from Tyson's supporters. The back rows were on their feet, people hugging each other in disbelief and joy. On the giant screens around the arena, the knockout was already being replayed in slow motion. Social media was exploding with clips, the hashtag #DeliveryKid now trending nationwide, with a very different connotation than it had held just hours earlier. As reality set in, Cole's corner team rushed into the ring, surrounding their fighter. Protectively, Cole pushed them away, his face a mask of disbelief and anger. It was a fluke, he spat, loud enough for nearby cameras to pick up. A lucky punch. Nothing else. Without offering the customary post-fight handshake, Cole stormed out of the ring and headed for the exit, his entourage scrambling to keep up with him. Meanwhile, Tyson stood alone in the center of the ring, looking almost as shocked as Cole had been. Reggie climbed through the ropes and embraced him, whispering something in his ear that made Tyson smile despite his exhaustion. That a commentator who had dismissed Tyson earlier approached the ring with a microphone. I think we just witnessed the beginning of something incredible, he said, his tone reverent where it had been mocking before. Tyson Ward, nobody expected this outcome. What do you have to say? The microphone was thrust toward Tyson, who looked momentarily panicked at being put on the spot. He glanced at Reggie, who nodded encouragingly. Tyson began, his voice cracking slightly. He cleared his throat and started again. This was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving I belong. The simple statement resonated through the arena, drawing a fresh round of cheers. As Tyson was led from the ring, people reached out to touch his shoulders, to offer congratulations. In the space of 3 rounds, he had transformed from an object of ridicule to something approaching a folk hero. Backstage, the contrast between the two fighters couldn't have been more stark. Cole sat alone in his dressing room, having ordered everyone out, staring at his reflection in the mirror. His carefully constructed image was crumbling before his eyes. His phone buzzed incessantly with notifications, most of them negative. Clips of the knockout were already being edited into memes. Sports commentators who had praised him days earlier were now questioning his record, suggesting he'd never faced real competition. It was a fluke, he repeated to his reflection, but the words sounded hollow even to his own ears. Meanwhile, in a much smaller room down the hall, Tyson was surrounded by a small but jubilant group. Nia had tears streaming down her face as she hugged her brother tightly. "Don't ever scare me like that again," she said, though her smile betrayed her pride. "No promises," Tyson replied with a tired grin. Outside, media representatives were gathering, demanding interviews with the night's surprise victor. But Reggie kept them at bay, insisting that Tyson needed rest. "Tomorrow," Reggie told them firmly. "He'll talk tomorrow." As they made their way toward a side exit, one persistent reporter broke through the makeshift barrier. "Tyson, there's already talk of sponsorship deals, exhibition matches, even professional contracts. What's next for you?" Tyson paused, considering the question seriously. "School," he said finally. "I finish high school in 5 months." The fight wasn't the finish line. It was just the bell. The reporter looked surprised, clearly expecting a different answer. "But the opportunities will still be there after I graduate." Tyson cut in politely, but firmly. "My dad always said education comes first, boxing second." As they drove back to Tyson's neighborhood, the streets seemed different somehow. People recognizing the old car Reggie drove, pointing and waving. News traveled fast in these parts. "You know your life's about to change," Reggie said as they neared Tyson's apartment building. "Tonight's going to follow you for a while." Tyson nodded, looking out the window at the familiar surroundings that suddenly felt new. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" "Depends on what you do with it," Reggie answered thoughtfully. "Fame is like fire. It can warm you or burn you. Up to you which it'll be." When they reached the apartment, they found it transformed into an impromptu celebration. Neighbors, friends, and even some of Nia's colleagues from the hospital had gathered to welcome Tyson home. Someone had set up a television that was replaying highlights from the fight, freezing on the moment of the knockout with cheers erupting each time. Nia, who had driven ahead to prepare for their arrival, pulled Tyson aside once he'd greeted everyone. "Someone set up a live stream of your fight at the hospital," she told him, her voice thick with emotion. "We were all watching between patients." "Tyson, I've never been so scared and so proud at the same time." Across town, in a luxury high-rise apartment, Cole Maddox was experiencing a very different evening. His social media accounts were flooded with negative comments. The hashtag humbled for real was trending alongside videos of his knockout. Worse still, his phone had been ringing nonstop with calls from sponsors concerned about their association with him. His manager finally broke through his self-imposed isolation. We need to get ahead of this, the manager insisted. Issue a statement, maybe challenge him to a rematch. A rematch? Cole interrupted incredulously. Are you serious? That would just legitimize him. He already is legitimate, the manager replied bluntly. The footage doesn't lie, Cole. He knocked you out clean. The question now is how we spin this to minimize the damage. Cole turned away, unable to face the truth in his manager's words. His carefully constructed image as an unbeatable champion had been shattered by a 17-year-old with no formal training. The humiliation was almost unbearable. Just get out, he muttered. All of you, just get out. Left alone, Cole replayed the fight in his mind, searching for excuses, for explanations that would salvage his ego. But every mental replay ended the same way. With him on the canvas, defeated not just physically but completely outclassed in terms of heart and determination. The following morning, Tyson woke to find his phone had crashed from the volume of notifications. His social media followers had exploded overnight. News outlets were requesting interviews. Local businesses were offering sponsorship deals. But perhaps the most surprising message came from Coach Reggie. The Olympic trials want to talk. You ready for a real challenge? Tyson stared at the message for a long time, trying to process its implications. Just days ago, he had been an anonymous delivery boy with secret dreams. Now those dreams were rapidly becoming possible realities. He got dressed. He caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror. Physically, he looked the same. Maybe a slight bruise on his cheekbone, a small cut above his eye. But there was something different in his expression, a confidence that hadn't been there before. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from an unknown number. The world just saw what I've always known. Proud of you, kid. Reggie, Tyson smiled, tucking the phone away. He picked up his father's gloves from where they rested on his bedside table and held them for a moment, feeling their worn leather against his palms. Thanks, Dad, he whispered. When he stepped outside his apartment building, he was surprised to find a small group of kids from the neighborhood waiting for him. They crowded around, asking questions about the fight, about how it felt to knock down a professional boxer. Will you teach us how to box? One boy asked eagerly. Tyson looked at their hopeful faces and felt a responsibility he hadn't expected. Maybe, he said with a smile. But first, I've got to learn properly myself. As the morning sun rose higher, over Atlanta, casting long shadows through the city streets, Tyson Ward walked with his head held high. The delivery boy had delivered something no one had expected, least of all himself. Not just a knockout, but a promise of something greater. To come. Tyson's eyes snapped open at 5:30 a.m., an hour before his alarm. For a moment, he stared at the ceiling of his bedroom, wondering if the previous night had been a dream. The dull ache in his ribs and the slight throb above his eye quickly confirmed it wasn't. He had stepped into a ring with an undefeated professional boxer, and he reached for his phone and immediately regretted it. The screen displayed hundreds of notifications, text messages, social media alerts, emails from addresses he didn't recognize. His follower count had multiplied overnight. The hashtag delivery kid was still trending nationwide. What the hell? He whispered to himself that a gentle knock came at his door, and Nia peeked in, already dressed in her nursing scrubs. You're up, she said. Good. You might want to see this. She handed him her tablet, open to a major sports network's website. The headline read, Delivery Kid Delivers Knockout. Unknown Teen Stuns Boxing World. Below it was a perfectly captured photo of the moment Tyson's uppercut connected with Cole's chin. The article described him as boxing's newest sensation and a raw talent with unlimited potential. There were quotes from boxing analysts, former champions, and even a brief statement from the Olympic Boxing Committee expressing interest. There's more, Nia said, scrolling down to show him another headline. Next king dethroned. Is Cole Maddox's career over before it began? Tyson handed the tablet back, uncomfortable with the attention. It was just one fight, he said. Not according to the rest of the world. Nia sat on the edge of his bed. Your phone's been ringing nonstop. I had to put it on silent so you could sleep. Who's calling? Everyone. Sports networks, talent agents, sponsors. Even your school principal called to say you're excused from classes today if you need rest. She paused, studying his face. How does it feel? Tyson considered the question. Weird, he finally admitted. Yesterday, nobody knew my name. Today, a notification pinged on Nia's tablet. She glanced at it, and her eyebrows rose. And now you're trending on video platforms too. Clips of the knockout have millions of views already. Tyson swung his legs over the side of the bed, wincing slightly at the soreness in his muscles. I should call Reggie. Already talked to him. He's coming by in an hour. Says we need to discuss next steps. Nia stood up. I've got to get to my shift, but Mrs. Taylor from next door is bringing over breakfast. Apparently, you're her hero now. After Nia left for her hospital shift, Tyson showered and dressed, trying to process his new reality. When he stepped out of his room, he found their small apartment transformed. Someone had arranged dozens of printed social media posts and news headlines on the living room wall, a makeshift celebration of his victory to Mrs. Taylor arrived with enough food to feed half the building, gushing about how she'd told everyone at her church that she'd known Tyson since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. Before she left, 3 more neighbors stopped by with congratulations and requests for selfies. By the time Reggie arrived, Tyson was feeling overwhelmed. The older man took one look at his face and understood. Let's get out of here, Reggie suggested. Go somewhere quiet to talk. They drove to a small park several blocks away, one of the few peaceful spots in the neighborhood. As they walked along a tree-lined path, Reggie explained the situation as he saw it. What happened last night wasn't just a win, Tyson. It was a moment, the kind that changes trajectories. He handed Tyson a folded piece of paper. This is a formal invitation to join the Riverside Amateur Boxing League. It's prestigious, feeds directly into Olympic qualifiers. Tyson stared at the letter, recognizing the significance. This is real. Very real. They've been watching the footage all night. One of the coaches is an old friend of mine. Reggie paused. But there's something you should know before you decide anything. What's that? Fame is a double-edged sword. Everyone's your fan until you say no to them. Right now, you're the feel-good story everyone loves. The underdog who beat the odds. But that narrative has a shelf life. As if to illustrate his point, Tyson's phone buzzed with yet another notification. This one was a news alert about Cole Maddox. He had gone live on social media platform an hour earlier, claiming the fight had been unfair. The caption read, Maddox alleges delivery kid used performance enhancers. Nobody gets that lucky. Tyson's jaw tightened as he read the accusation. He's saying I was juicing? It's just the beginning, Reggie warned. The higher you climb, the harder they'll try to pull you down. Cole's got a brand to protect, sponsors who are now questioning their investment. He's desperate. They continued, walking, discussing the opportunities and challenges that lay ahead. By the time they returned to the car, Tyson had made up his mind. I want to do this right, he told Reggie. The amateur league, training properly, finishing school. No shortcuts. Reggie nodded, a smile of approval crossing his weathered face. Your father would be proud of that decision. When they arrived back at the apartment building, they found a small crowd of reporters waiting. Word had spread that this was where the delivery kid lived. They surged forward when Tyson stepped out of the car, shouting questions and pointing cameras. Tyson, how does it feel to be an overnight sensation? Did you expect to beat Cole Maddox? Is it true Olympic scouts are contacting you? Reggie stepped in front of Tyson protectively. No comments today, folks. The young man needs rest. As they pushed through the crowd, one reporter thrust a microphone particularly close. What's your response to Cole Maddox's allegations that you used performance-enhancing substances? Tyson stopped, turning to face the reporter directly. The crowd quieted, sensing a moment. I've never taken anything stronger than my sister's protein shakes, he said evenly. Cole can say what he wants. The truth is in the fight footage. The simple, dignified response seemed to catch the reporters off guard. Before they could follow up, Reggie ushered Tyson inside and closed the door firmly behind them. Over the next few days, the media frenzy continued to build. Local news stations ran features on the delivery kid's rise. National sports shows debated whether Tyson's win was skill or luck. Social media was divided between those celebrating his victory and Cole's fans claiming it was a fluke. The story grew more complicated when someone leaked footage of Tyson's neighborhood, focusing on the rundown buildings and vacant lots. News segments began framing him as from street rat to superstar, a narrative that made Tyson increasingly uncomfortable. They're making it sound like I was homeless or something, he complained to Nia one evening after seeing yet another sensationalized report. Like I'm some charity case they discovered. They need an angle, Nia replied, her voice tired after a long hospital shift. Right now, it's the rags to riches story. Next week, it'll be something else. They'll love you until they don't, Ty. Remember that. The warning proved prophetic when Tyson visited his local corner store and overheard two older men discussing him. Kid thinks he's something special now, one said. One lucky punch, and suddenly he's too good for the neighborhood. Give it time, the other replied. They all come back down eventually. Tyson left without buying anything, the comments stinging more than he wanted to admit. The same community that had celebrated him was now watching to see if success would change him. Meanwhile, opportunities continued to flood in. A flashy sports promoter named Gavin Vaughn arrived at their apartment unannounced one evening, brushing past Nia with practice charm and presenting Tyson with a contract. This is your golden ticket. Kid, Vaughn explained, his designer suit out of place in their modest living room. Skip the amateur circuit. Go pro right now. I can get you 3 fights in the next 6 months, each with a guaranteed purse bigger than anything you'd see in the amateur leagues. The numbers he mentioned made Tyson's head spin. It was more money than he had ever imagined, enough to buy a new apartment for Nia, pay for her nursing school without loans, maybe even help reopen the community gym. What's the catch? Nia asked, her arms crossed defensively. Vaughn's smile remained fixed, but his eyes cooled. No catch. Just standard management terms. My team handles everything. Training, promotion, scheduling. Everything includes his current coach. Nia pressed. There was a brief silence before Vaughn answered. Look, Reggie Thompson is old school. Great for basics. But if you want to compete at the top level. He leaned forward, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. Old trainers are sentimental. I make champions. After Vaughn left, Tyson sat with the contract in his hands, torn between practicality and loyalty. The money would solve so many problems, but it would mean leaving behind the one person who had believed in him from the start. What would Dad do? He asked Nia quietly. She sat beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Dad would tell you to follow your heart, but use your head too. Sleep on it, Ty. Big decisions need clear minds. That night, Tyson barely slept, his thoughts oscillating between opportunity and obligation. By morning, he still hadn't decided. When he arrived at the old community gym for training, he found Nia already there, engaged in an intense conversation with Reggie. They fell silent when he entered. What's going on? Tyson asked, looking between them. Nia spoke first. I was just asking Reggie something that's been bothering me. About why he suddenly reappeared in our lives right when you needed a trainer. Reggie sighed, leaning against the ring post. Your sister's right to question it. I owe you both an explanation. What followed was a revelation that shifted Tyson's understanding of his father's past. Reggie had been more than just a training partner to Malik Ward. He had been his coach during a promising early career. But before a high-stakes fight that could have launched Malik to national recognition, Reggie had walked away due to a disagreement with promoters who wanted to fix the match. Your father fought anyway, Reggie explained. Lost badly. His career never recovered. When I saw you in that viral video, moving just like him. His voice trailed off. I guess I'm here to make peace with the past. Through you. The revelation left Tyson stunned, adding another layer of complexity to his decision about Vaughn's offer. Before he could process it fully, his phone buzzed with an urgent message from Marcus. Dude, check social media now. Cole dropped a video about you. With a sense of dread, Tyson pulled up the link. The video showed what appeared to be grainy footage of someone resembling Tyson receiving an injection from an unidentifiable person. Though clearly fabricated, it was convincing enough to raise questions. He's really doing this, Tyson muttered in disbelief. Within hours, the fake video had spread across multiple platforms. Cole's fans amplified it, calling for investigations and drug tests. Though many recognized it as a desperate attempt to save Cole's reputation, the damage was being done. By evening, Tyson received a formal request to appear before the Amateur League Commission to address the allegations before they would confirm his invitation. They have to investigate, Reggie explained when Tyson called him, panicking. Standard procedure when accusations like this surface. Don't worry, we'll clear your name. The hearing was set for the following week. As Tyson prepared for bed, that night, the weight of his new reality pressed down on him. 24 hours ago, his biggest concern had been whether to accept Vaughn's offer. Now he was fighting to defend his integrity. Nia found him sitting on the fire escape outside his window, staring at the city lights. "You okay?" she asked, climbing out to join him. "I don't know," he admitted. "Everything's happening so fast. It's like being caught in a flood." She wrapped an arm around his shoulders. "Then we build a boat. Together." The commission hearing was held in a sterile conference room at the Athletic Association headquarters. Tyson, accompanied by Reggie and Nia, felt out of place among the officials in business attire. A drug test had already cleared him, but the panel still had concerns about the viral video. After nearly 2 hours of questioning, the head of the commission made their decision clear. "We find no evidence of any violation. Mr. Ward is cleared to join the amateur league program." Before Tyson could fully process the relief, the commissioner added a warning that would stay with him long after. "A word of advice, young man. The higher you rise, the harder they'll try to drag you down. You're not just fighting opponents anymore, you're fighting the system." The morning after the commission hearing, Tyson made a decision. Without warning, he deleted all his social media accounts, silencing the constant notifications and commentary that had followed him since the fight. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked when Tyson told him. "You've got like 100,000 followers." "Exactly," Tyson replied. "And none of them are helping me become a better boxer." With the distractions gone, Tyson returned to the old Morris gym with Reggie. The space that had once seemed abandoned now had purpose again, as they cleared debris and repaired what equipment they could. "No more proving myself online," Tyson declared as they worked. "Just in the ring." Reggie nodded approvingly. "That's where it counts." Training resumed with an intensity Tyson had never experienced. Reggie pushed him harder than before, no longer treating him as a novice with potential, but as a serious athlete with a future. Olympic qualifiers start in 4 months, Reggie explained as he corrected Tyson's form during a combination drill. "Regional trials first. You'll face state champions. Kids who've been boxing since they could walk." "You think I'm ready for that?" Tyson asked between heavy breaths. "Not yet," Reggie answered honestly. "But you will be." The training evolved beyond physical conditioning. Reggie taught Tyson to analyze opponents, to recognize patterns and tendencies. They watched footage of amateur champions, breaking down their techniques. "Boxing's a chess match at full speed," Reggie often said. "Your body's just executing what your mind already knows." While Tyson focused on improvement, Cole Maddox was spiraling downward. After his failed attempt to discredit Tyson with the fake video, his reputation took another hit. Sponsors began quietly distancing themselves from the next king of the ring, who had been dethroned by an amateur. Desperate to rebuild his image, Cole accepted fights against lower-ranked opponents, bouts he would have dismissed months earlier. But something had changed in him. The confidence that had once bordered on arrogance was gone, replaced by a desperate need to prove himself. He lost his next 2 fights, decisions that weren't even close. His social media, once filled with training highlights and victory celebrations, became increasingly bitter. Every post seemed to reference the fluke or the delivery boy, keeping the night of his humiliation alive in the public consciousness. After his 3rd consecutive loss, Cole's remaining team abandoned him. His manager cited different career directions, but everyone understood the reality. Cole Maddox had become a liability rather than an asset. Meanwhile, Tyson's legitimate training was beginning to show results. His natural movements were now supported by proper technique. His endurance improved. His understanding of boxing strategy deepened. When he participated in his first amateur competition, a small local event, he won decisively, catching the attention of regional scouts. "There's talk about you," Reggie told him after the fight. "Good talk. But there's also a new name being mentioned alongside yours." That name was Diego Alvarez, a Cuban-American boxer from Miami who had dominated the amateur circuit for the past year. At 19, Diego was being touted as America's best hope for Olympic gold, until Tyson Ward appeared on the scene. Unlike Cole, Diego's confidence wasn't built on social media presence or flashy entrances. It came from a record of 37 wins and 0 losses in amateur competition, with 25 knockouts. He was technically brilliant, blindingly fast, and coldly efficient in the ring. When asked about Tyson in an interview, Diego had been dismissively brief. "One viral moment doesn't make you a boxer. Let's see him fight someone who knows what they're doing." The dismissal turned to active provocation when Diego posted a video online, shadowboxing while a friend pretended to deliver packages in the background. America's charity case thinks he can dance with a real boxer? The caption read, "I'll send him back to his delivery route." The clip spread quickly, creating a rivalry that the boxing media eagerly promoted. Journalists framed it as a natural collision course, the prodigy versus the phenomenon, technique versus raw talent. If both continued winning, they would inevitably meet in the Olympic trial finals. "Don't let him get in your head," Reggie advised when Tyson saw the video. "He's trying to make you emotional. Emotional fighters make mistakes." Tyson nodded, but the provocation had lit a fire in him. He doubled his training efforts, often arriving at the gym before dawn and staying until Reggie forced him to leave at a S-word spread about Tyson's dedication. His community began to rally behind him again. Local businesses donated equipment to the old gym. Neighborhood kids started showing up to watch him train, sitting quietly along the walls as if attending a master class. Nia helped organize a fundraiser to repair the building's roof and install new lighting. "He fights for all of us," a local barbershop owner said as he contributed. "Least we can do is give him a decent place to train." The renovations to the gym attracted media attention, but this time Tyson controlled the narrative. He gave one exclusive interview to a respected boxing publication, explaining his connection to the community and his father's legacy. The resulting article, titled "The Delivery Kid Delivers Hope," presented a more authentic picture than the sensationalized street rat to superstar stories that had circulated earlier. As Tyson's profile in the boxing world grew, his path occasionally crossed with Cole's, diminishing one. At a regional boxing event where Tyson was competing and Cole was making a guest appearance, one of the few invitations he still received, they found themselves alone in a hallway. Cole had visibly changed. In the months since their fight, his designer clothes had been replaced by simpler attire. The entourage was gone. Most noticeably, there was a haunted look in his eyes, the expression of someone who had lost something essential and couldn't find it again. "Ward," Cole acknowledged, his voice rough with what might have been alcohol. "Maddox," Tyson replied. Evenly, they stood in uncomfortable silence before Cole spoke again. "You took everything from me," he growled, the bitterness evident in every word. Tyson considered his response carefully. "No," he said quietly. "You gave it away." The simple truth hung between them. Cole opened his mouth as if to argue, then closed it again. Without another word, he turned and walked away, shoulders slumped under the weight of recognition. The encounter left Tyson thoughtful. Cole's fall served as a warning about the fragility of success built on image rather than substance. It strengthened his resolve to remain grounded, to remember why he was fighting in the first place. As the Olympic trials approached, Tyson and Diego continued on their collision course. Each won their respective qualifying matches convincingly, setting up the final that boxing fans had been anticipating for months. The night before the official announcement, Reggie visited Tyson at home. They sat on the fire escape where Tyson often went to think, looking out at the city lights. "Tomorrow they'll announce it officially," Reggie said. "You versus Diego for the Olympic trial finals. National coverage. Sold-out arena." Tyson nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Any final advice?" Reggie considered the question. "You know, when I trained your father, I always told him to focus on winning. Just win. That's all that matters." He paused, looking at Tyson with newfound respect. "But for you, I'll say something different. Don't just win. Change what they think is possible." Later that night, after Reggie had gone, Tyson found himself drawn to a small box in his closet. Inside was an old cassette recorder that had belonged to his father. He hadn't played it in years, unsure if the battery still worked or if the tape inside had deteriorated. On impulse, he pressed play. There was a hiss of static, and then, miraculously, his father's voice filled the room. "If you're hearing this, Tyson, then it means you didn't give up. And I'm proud. Whatever challenge you're facing right now, remember, Ward men don't back down. We might get knocked down, but we always get back up. Always. I believe in you, son. More than you know." Tyson sat motionless, tears streaming down his face as the recording ended. After all these years, it felt like his father was right there with him, offering strength for the fight ahead. With renewed determination, Tyson began mentally preparing for Diego Alvarez and the Olympic trials. This wasn't just about personal glory or proving critics wrong anymore. It was about honoring his father's memory, his community's support, and the legacy he was beginning to build. The delivery kid was ready to deliver again. This time, on the biggest stage of his young life. The Olympic trial finals arena buzzed with an energy usually reserved for professional championship bouts. Every seat was filled, from the expensive ringside spots occupied by boxing celebrities and scouts to the upper sections where Tyson's community had gathered in force, many wearing handmade, delivery kid t-shirts. Media platforms had been promoting the match for weeks. Sports analysts debated endlessly. Diego's technical perfection versus Tyson's raw talent and rapidly developing skills. Betting odds favored Diego slightly, but the gap had narrowed as Tyson continued to impress in his qualifying matches. Backstage, Tyson sat alone in the locker room, his father's gloves resting on his knees. Unlike his first fight with Cole, he now understood the magnitude of the moment. This wasn't just another bout. It was a potential turning point in his life. Reggie entered, carrying tape and water. "Almost time," he said, his voice calm but serious. "How you feeling?" "Ready," Tyson replied, and meant it. The months of rigorous training had transformed him. He was no longer just a naturally gifted kid. He was a disciplined athlete with purpose. "Diego's going to come out fast," Reggie reminded him as he helped tape Tyson's hands. "He always does. First round is about weather, not fight. You understand?" Tyson nodded. They had studied Diego's style extensively, watching every available video of his fights. The Cuban-American boxer was known for overwhelming opponents early, establishing dominance from the opening bell. "Remember," Reggie continued, "he's never faced someone who wasn't scared of him. Use that." In another locker room across the arena, Diego Alvarez was surrounded by his team, a professional coach, a cut man, a strength trainer, and his father who had been a boxer himself in Cuba. Their preparations were precise, methodical, the result of years of elite training. "He's just a story," Diego's father told him in Spanish. A feel-good headline. "You are the reality." Diego nodded, his face a mask of concentration. Unlike Cole Maddox, he didn't underestimate Tyson. He had watched the videos, recognized the natural ability. But Diego had something Tyson didn't: years of structured training and competition experience. In his mind, the outcome was inevitable. When the time came for ring walks, the contrast between the two fighters was immediately apparent. Though different from the stark difference that had defined Tyson's match with Cole, Diego entered first. No elaborate entrance, but the confident walk of someone who had never known defeat. He wore simple but professional gear, his team following behind in matching jackets. There was no showboating, just focused intensity as he climbed into the ring. Tyson followed minutes later, still wearing his father's navy hoodie. But he walked differently now, head high, shoulders back, eyes forward. Beside him, Reggie carried a small towel emblazoned with the newly renovated Morris Community Gym logo. In the crowd, Nia sat surrounded by hospital colleagues who had taken the night off to support her brother. Nearby, the kids who had been watching Tyson train for months cheered loudly, their voices carrying despite their small numbers. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena. "Ladies and gentlemen, the Olympic trial finals in the middleweight division. 5 rounds to determine who will represent the United States at the Olympic Games." As the fighters met in the center ring for final instructions, Diego looked directly into Tyson's eyes, searching for weakness, for fear. He found neither. The bell rang, and Diego exploded forward just as expected, unleashing a flurry of lightning-fast jabs. Tyson immediately went defensive, using the footwork Reggie had drilled into him for hours each day. 2 jabs grazed his guard, but nothing landed clean. The commentators noticed immediately. Alvarez coming out aggressive as usual, but Ward is moving well, not giving him a stationary target. Diego pressed forward, cutting off the ring, throwing combinations that would have overwhelmed lesser opponents. Tyson blocked, slipped, occasionally countered, but primarily focused on observation, studying Diego's rhythm, the way he set up his power shots, the slight tell before his signature right cross. By the end of the first round, Diego had clearly won on points, but something was off in his expression as he returned to his corner. He hadn't dominated as completely as usual. The story wasn't following his script. He looked slow, Diego told his father, slightly winded. Unfocused. Don't get careless, his father warned. He's studying you. The commentators shared a similar assessment. Ward spent that round reading Alvarez. Classic rope-a-dope strategy. Let your opponent throw everything while you learn their patterns. As round 2 began, Tyson made a subtle shift. Instead of purely defensive movement, he began to counter more frequently. When Diego threw a 3-punch combination, Tyson slipped the 3rd punch and landed a sharp hook to the body that Diego's eyes widened slightly in surprise. He hadn't expected such precise timing from someone with so little formal experience. He responded by increasing his pressure, forcing Tyson toward the ropes, but Tyson had anticipated this. As his back neared the ropes, he suddenly pivoted, changing positions and catching Diego with a clean jab. The crowd reacted with appreciative murmurs. This wasn't the raw, instinctive fighter they had seen against Cole Maddox. This was someone who had done his homework. Ward is adapting, one commentator observed. He's reading Alvarez's patterns and finding openings. The second round ended more evenly than the first. Diego still led on points, but the momentum had shifted subtly. As they returned to their corners, the difference in the two fighters' teams was evident. Diego's corner was technical, focused on adjustments and strategy. Reggie simply looked Tyson in the eye and nodded. "You see it now," he said. "Not a question." Tyson nodded back. His right hand drops before the hook. In the third round, Diego came out with renewed determination, aware that the fight wasn't proceeding as expected. He increased his aggression, adding more power to his combinations. One heavy right hand caught Tyson on the temple, momentarily staggering him. Diego pressed his advantage, unleashing a barrage that forced Tyson to cover up against the ropes. The crowd tensed, sensing a potential turning point, but Tyson weathered the storm, his defensive skills allowing him to absorb or deflect the worst of the attack. When Diego paused for a fraction of a second, Tyson countered with a perfectly timed uppercut that snapped Diego's head back. The exchange energized the crowd, particularly Tyson's supporters. The delivery kid chant began to build in the upper sections, gradually spreading throughout the arena. Diego, unused to being matched so evenly, began to employ psychological tactics, muttering insults during clinches, making dismissive gestures after exchanges. After Tyson landed a particularly clean combination, Diego responded with a mocking smile and a shrug, as if to say the punches had no effect. Tyson didn't take the bait. His mind flashed back to Cole's taunts, to the lessons he'd learned about controlling his emotions in the ring. Control the storm. His father's voice echoed in his memory. Between rounds, the atmosphere in Tyson's corner remained calm. "He's trying to get in your head," Reggie said simply. "Stay in his instead." Round 4 brought the fight to a new level of intensity. Both fighters were now marked by the battle. A cut above Diego's eye, bruising on Tyson's ribs visible when he moved. They traded heavy shots in the center of the ring, neither willing to cede ground. Midway through the round, Diego landed his signature combination, a jab, feint, and right cross that had ended many of his previous fights. The right hand connected solidly with Tyson's jaw, sending him staggering back. The crowd gasped as Tyson's knees buckled slightly. Diego moved in for the finish, throwing another right hand. But Tyson had been studying this exact sequence for weeks. Despite his momentary disorientation, muscle memory took over. He slipped just enough that the punch grazed his ear instead of landing flush. The missed punch left Diego slightly off balance. Tyson countered with a short left hook that wasn't particularly powerful, but landed perfectly on Diego's chin. Now it was Diego who stumbled, his legs momentarily unsteady. The arena erupted. Tyson didn't rush and recklessly, but followed with measured pressure, landing 2 more clean shots before the bell ended the round. As the final round approached, the energy in the arena was electric. What had been expected to be a showcase for Diego Alvarez had turned into a genuine contest. The judges' scorecards were likely close, making the 5th round decisive. In Tyson's corner, Reggie kept his instructions simple. "This is your round, not his. Yours." Across the ring, Diego's team was more animated than they had been all night, sensing their fighter might be in danger of his first defeat. Meanwhile, in the crowd, Nia clutched the hands of her friends, her medical training making her all too aware of the punishment both young men had absorbed. "You're everything Dad believed you'd be," she shouted as Tyson rose for the final round. Unsure if he could hear her above the noise, but needing to say it anyway. Whether he heard the words or not, Tyson carried their meaning into the final round. He met Diego in the center of the ring with renewed purpose, no longer just responding, but initiating exchanges. Diego, recognizing the shift, matched Tyson's intensity. For 2 minutes, they fought at a pace that had the crowd on its feet, trading combinations, each man landing solid shots that would have finished lesser opponents. Both fighters were bleeding now, their faces marked by the battle. Tyson's right eye was swelling, Diego's left was cut, but neither showed any sign of backing down. With 1 minute remaining, Diego landed a devastating uppercut that sent Tyson's mouthguard flying. The punch would have ended most fights, but Tyson absorbed it, his legs wobbling but not collapsing. The referee paused the action to retrieve the mouthguard, giving Tyson precious seconds to recover. As he stood in the neutral corner, he looked up at the arena lights, momentarily dazed. In that moment, everything seemed to slow down that he saw Reggie at the corner, his weathered face tense with concern. He glimpsed Nia in the crowd, standing, with her hands pressed to her mouth. He felt the weight of his father's gloves on his hands, the legacy they represented. The referee returned his mouthguard and asked if he could continue. Tyson nodded, his vision clearing, his resolve hardening. With 40 seconds left in the fight, Tyson found a rhythm unlike anything he had experienced before. It wasn't just technique or natural ability. It was a perfect synthesis of both, enhanced by heart and determination. He blocked Diego's left hook, slipped the right hand, and delivered a 3-punch combination that landed with surgical precision. Diego stumbled backward, genuinely hurt for the first time in the fight. Tyson followed, not wild with excitement, but focused and controlled. He landed another combination as Diego tried to clinch. The crowd was deafening now, sensing a potential knockout in the final seconds. Diego, showing the heart of a champion, refused to go down. He fired back with everything he had left, catching Tyson with a short right hand. Both fighters were giving and taking tremendous punishment as the final 10 seconds ticked away. The bell rang with both men still standing, both bloodied but unbowed. The crowd gave them a standing ovation that continued long after they had returned to their corners. They awaited the judge's decision. Tyson and Diego stood in the center of the ring, exhaustion evident in their postures. The announcer took the scorecards, building suspense before reading. After 5 rounds, we have a split decision. The arena held its collective breath. The winner, and representing the United States at the Olympic Games, Tyson Ward. The crowd exploded. Reggie lifted Tyson onto his shoulders as the reality of the moment sank in. The delivery boy who had been mocked in a gym less than a year ago was now an Olympic boxer. Unlike after his victory over Cole, Tyson didn't raise his arms in triumph. Instead, he sank to his knees in the center of the ring, overcome with exhausted gratitude. The aftermath of the Olympic trial finals thrust Tyson into a spotlight brighter than anything he had experienced before. As he sat at the post-fight press conference, face still marked from battle, reporters peppered him with questions about his future. "What's next for Tyson Ward?" asked a journalist from a major sports network. Tyson considered the question, his expression thoughtful despite his exhaustion. "Rest," he said simply, drawing a gentle laugh from the room. "Then, the Olympics. Then, who knows?" For the first time since his journey began, a genuine smile spread across his face. Not nervous or guarded, but confident and content. After the press conference, as Tyson gathered his belongings in the locker room, the door opened to reveal Diego Alvarez. The Cuban-American boxer had showered and changed, but his face still showed the marks of their battle. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Diego extended his hand. "You earned it," he said simply. Tyson shook his hand, a silent understanding passing between them. Both knew they had pushed each other to their limits, creating something greater than either could have achieved alone. "See you around," Diego added before turning to leave. "Count on it," Tyson replied. Later that night, as the arena emptied and the cleaning crews began their work, Reggie found Tyson sitting alone by the ring, still processing everything that had happened. "Proud of you, kid," Reggie said, sitting beside him. I couldn't have done it without you. Tyson began, but Reggie shook his head. You had it in you all along. I just helped you find it. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. But I think it's time for me to step back. Tyson looked at him in surprise. What? What? You don't need a coach anymore, Reggie explained. You need a vision. Go be that for someone else. Before Tyson could protest, Reggie placed a hand on his shoulder. I promised your father I'd help you find your path, not walk it for you. The following week brought another unexpected interaction. While reviewing Olympic training materials at home, Tyson received a text message from an unknown number. It was from Cole Maddox. You fought like a man. I didn't. That's on me. The message caught Tyson off guard. After months of bitterness and accusations, Cole's acknowledgement seemed to close a chapter that had begun with that fateful day at the gym. After consideration, Tyson replied, It's never too late to fight for real. He didn't receive an immediate response, but somehow knew the message had been received in the spirit it was intended. Spring transitioned to early summer, bringing personal milestones alongside athletic ones. Tyson took a day away from Olympic training to attend Nia's pinning ceremony as she graduated nursing school. Standing in the audience, he felt a pride that rivaled anything he'd experienced in the ring. Look at us, Nia said afterward, her nursing pin gleaming on her uniform. Now we both save lives in different ways. With Olympic training intensifying, Tyson made a decision about the community that had supported him. Using the modest stipend provided to Olympic athletes and donations from local businesses, he formally reopened his father's old gym with new equipment and a fresh coat of paint. The Legacy Boxing Center, as it was now called, offered free classes to neighborhood kids. The same children who had quietly watched Tyson train months earlier now had a safe place to develop their own skills and dreams. Local media covered the opening, but Tyson insisted on keeping the focus on the community rather than himself. This isn't about me, he told reporters. It's about what happens next, who comes after me. As summer progressed, Olympic team announcements became official. Tyson's photo appeared on banners throughout Atlanta and in national promotions with the caption, From Delivery Boy to National Hope. The nickname that had once been used to mock him had transformed into a symbol of perseverance and possibility. Letters arrived from young boxers across the country, many from backgrounds similar to his own, seeing in his journey a reflection of their potential. One evening, after a particularly intense training session with the Olympic team, Tyson returned to the Legacy Boxing Center. The building was empty, the day's classes finished. He turned off the main lights, leaving just a single spotlight over the ring that he climbed through the ropes and stood in the center of the canvas. Here, in the quiet, he could trace the arc of his journey, from the alleyways where he'd shadowboxed alone, to the gym where Cole had humiliated him, to the arena where he'd earned his place on the Olympic team. Tyson approached the heavy bag hanging in the corner. He threw a single punch, hard, precise, confident. The bag swung on its chain, the sound of impact echoing in the empty gym. He watched it swing in the silence, a physical manifestation of the ripple effects his journey had created. His reflection in the gym mirror caught his attention. The teenager who had delivered packages less than a year ago had been replaced by a young man with purpose and direction. Not just a boxer, but someone who carried the hopes and dreams of a community. The journey had changed him, but the core remained the same. The spirit his father had recognized and nurtured, the determination his sister had supported through doubt and triumph. The potential Reggie had helped him realize. His phone buzzed with a message from the Olympic coach, tomorrow's training schedule. The path ahead would be challenging, filled with new opponents and higher stakes. But for the first time, Tyson felt truly ready, not just physically but mentally and emotionally. The next morning, as Tyson arrived to open the gym for the day's first youth class, he found a young boy waiting outside. No more than 12, skinny and nervous, the boy clutched a worn pair of gloves that were clearly secondhand. "Are you Tyson Ward?" the boy asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's me," Tyson replied with a gentle smile, unlocking the door and gesturing for the boy to enter. Inside, the boy looked around with the same wonder Tyson had felt when his father first took him to a boxing gym. His eyes wide, taking in the equipment, the ring, the possibilities. "First time?" Tyson asked, kneeling to meet the boy's eyes. The boy nodded, nervous but determined. "Good," Tyson said, a knowing smile spreading across his face. That's where all greatness starts. As he helped the boy wrap his hands for his first lesson, Tyson felt the circle completing. The delivery boy had delivered not just a knockout, not just an Olympic berth, but something far more valuable, a legacy that would continue long after the cheers of the crowd had faded, in that quiet moment of connection, of passing knowledge. Forward, Tyson understood that his greatest victory wasn't something that could be captured on video or celebrated with medals. It was this, the chance to be for someone else what Reggie had been for him, what his father had tried to be, a guide, a believer, a hand extended in support. This was just the beginning. Was it the punch that changed Tyson's life, or the moment he finally saw himself through his father's eyes? If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold journeys, and share to inspire someone who needs to hear it today.